Hi everyone, this is U.S. immigration lawyer Michael Ashoori, and in today's video we're going to discuss the E2 visa requirements. So to get started, let's do a quick overview about the E2 visa. Basically, the E2 visa is a non-immigrant visa which allows someone to live and work in the U.S. based on making a substantial investment in a U.S. business. So the way it works is that you can either start a business from scratch or purchase an existing business. And based on that investment in that business, you can live in the US and work for that business. That's the basic overview of an E2 visa. And with that, let's discuss requirement number 1, which is that you must be a citizen of a country that has an E2 treaty with the United States. So the E2 visa is not available to just everybody. In order to qualify for an E2 visa, you must have citizenship to a country that has an E2 treaty with the US. There's many countries that do have an E2 treaty, but there are some big countries that do not have an E2 treaty. For example, China and India do not have E2 treaties with the United States. As a quick side note, if you do not have citizenship to a E2 country, then one option is to get citizenship to a country that does have an E2 treaty with the United States. So we've seen people explore the option of getting citizenship to Grenada, which is an E2 country. And they get citizenship to Grenada, and then with that citizenship, they apply for an E2 visa. So that's something to consider. But again, requirement number 1, you must have citizenship to a country that has an E2 treaty. Moving on to requirement number 2, you must make a substantial investment in a U.S. business. So many people ask me, how much money do I have to invest to qualify for an E2 visa? And the answer is that there's no minimum specified by the regulations. So personally, I typically recommend to my clients to at least invest $100,000 or more. But I have seen investments for less than that get approved. I've seen investments for as low as $55,000 get approved, but that's not my preference. I typically advise my clients to at least invest $100,000 to $150,000 or more to give yourself a stronger chance of approval. So that's requirement number 2. Now, requirement number 3 is that your investment funds must come from a lawful source. Basically, we have to show that you earned the funds lawfully. And there's many different types of lawful sources of funds that will qualify. For example, if you've saved up money from your employment, that's one valid source of funds. If you received, let's say you sold a property and you received a large sum of money and you want to use that money for your E2 visa, that can also qualify as a lawful source of funds. Let's say you get a gift from a friend or a family member. That can also qualify. Let's say you get an inheritance. That's also a lawful source of funds. So there's many different options to satisfy the lawful source of funds requirement. But it's just important to know that this is a requirement. It's an important one. So it's something to keep your mind on. Now, requirement number 4 is that your investment funds must be at risk. So as a kind of like an overview of this requirement, many people think that they can just deposit $100,000 into their business's bank account and then apply for an E2 visa. But actually that's not the case, and it's because of this requirement. If the funds are just sitting in the business's bank account, they're not considered to be at risk. In order to put the funds at risk, the funds must be spent. So to satisfy this requirement, you basically have to, depending on your business, you have to purchase inventory, purchase supplies, purchase furniture. If your office needs furniture, for example, computers. If you have to, do some marketing for your business, whatever your business needs, you should be spending money towards those needs, and that way you give yourself the opportunity to satisfy the at-risk requirement. So next requirement, moving on, requirement number 5 is that your E2 business must be an active for-profit business. So Another point of confusion, or another question that I get asked all the time is, can I just purchase a home and rent it out for an E2 visa? And the answer is no. And the reason why the answer is no is because of this requirement. The business must be an active for-profit business. What are some examples of active for-profit businesses? One is a coffee shop, a restaurant, a cell phone repair shop. And there's many different examples of active for-profit businesses. But what we don't want to see is a passive investment. For example, purchasing a house and leasing it out. And then it's also important that the business is for profit. So non-profit activities would not qualify for E2. So moving on to our next requirement, requirement number 6 is that you must direct and develop the E2 business. Basically, you can't just be a completely passive investor in your E2 business. You must have control over directing and developing the business. So that's requirement number 6. Requirement 7 is that your E2 business cannot be a marginal enterprise. Basically, a marginal enterprise is a business that just earns enough to support the E2 investor and their family. What you need to do for this requirement is to show that your business is not a marginal enterprise. And there's different ways of doing this depending on whether your business is like a brand new startup or if you're purchasing an existing business. If your business is a startup, then what we do is we include a business plan along with your E2 visa application. And your E2 business plan lays out projections for year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, and year 5. And those projections demonstrate that the business will not be a marginal enterprise. Now, if you're purchasing an existing business for your E2 visa, then you can rely on the past performance of the business. You can bring, the quarter before's financial statements and the quarter before that, and that can be helpful to demonstrate that the business is not a marginal enterprise. Another important note is that employing U.S. workers can also show that you're creating a positive economic impact in the community where your business operates, and that is also helpful to show that you're not a marginal enterprise. So that's requirement number 7. And lastly, requirement number 8 is the intent to depart requirement. And basically, what this is that you must have the intent to depart the United States once your E2 status ends. And with that said, those are the 8 requirements for an E2 visa. I know we went over a ton of information, and some of it we went over pretty quickly. So if you have any questions at all, I put my contact information in the description below, so you can find it there. And if you like this video, please go ahead and subscribe to our channel so you can get notified about all of our videos when we post them. And I'll see you on the next video.